Students will be doing this activity. A teacher would not necessarily be sketching in front of the class, but this will represent what some of the students will start sketching out based on the discussion about the ad. So this will be for Violet. Students should always label their work, able to make sure the students are working on the right piece. So we put the name, we put the student's name on the top, and then we'll begin with some of the details. We know that she has 2 children that she has run off with. She's young, 26 years old, and both boys have their hair cut short. And that's about all that we know. We know she left on a Thursday night. So I'm going to draw her in the act of escape, and it is night, so I want to include that. I want her perhaps to be hiding in the shadows. But right now I'm just going to use a pen, but students will be using a pencil. So I want them to be thinking about that. So we're going to look at Violet first. So it says she is 26 years old, tall, thin, somewhat pitted. So we're going to make her tall, thin, and encourage them to begin to sketch without worrying about the final product. You want to get the composition, how she'll fill the page. So we will work with, I have 2 boys that are going to be in here, and maybe one is going to be a little smaller. I'm going to make them huddled together to indicate that they're a little scared here. Okay. I imagine that they would be wearing pants, but maybe a little raggedy because they're runaway slave boys. So I'll put them in those short pants, and again I'll fill in these details later with the materials. But we have there, I would think that she would be wearing maybe a skirt, maybe a dress with a big collar. So there we have that. Now what environment? We have a sketch of the person. What environment would you set this character in? I imagine her just in the woods, so I would sketch in maybe some trees. And students can work in this program with oil pastels, so I'll explain to them that they'll be able to cover over any of their initial sketches with the medium, so it's okay to just really sketch in. And I'll put her on a road, okay, leading somewhere. And about the boys, I know the youngest boy, which is this one, is of a rather yellow complexion. And we could definitely talk about as a class what that means, and that they both have very short hair. So we'll give them just a little short hair here. Okay. So now when the students get their sketch, you want to encourage them to think about the different elements. What is the fabric like of the clothing? What is their hair like? What is the lighting like? What colors are most important to use? I think for this one I would want to use dark colors to make shadows, perhaps a shaft of light coming down, so there might be a little bit of illumination. And you can talk about all of that with the students, how to use the materials when you move into using those materials. There are different ways to decide which mediums to use for your composition, and I think that's up to students' individual preferences, what they're drawn to. I encourage students to practice with each of the mediums first to get an idea of the effect it has, and then let the mediums determine, which effects they like the best, can help them decide which they will use in their final composition, and also the details of the ad can help determine that. So some of the ads have more specifics about perhaps the types of fabrics that the runaway slaves are wearing, their clothes are made out of, some other details that might lead the artist. For instance, if Violet was wearing a gingham dress, it might be easier to create a gingham pattern using, say, watercolor pencils, or maybe just dry colored pencils, than it would be with the oil pastels. And they'll learn those things by experimenting more with the mediums before they begin to work on their final composition.